Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. If you thought about podcasting before and realized that you need a lot of different tools and services, those days are over. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
We have all had thoughts about what we would do in a zombie apocalypse, many of which focus on our own survival. But what if you found an abandoned baby? How many of us would take the responsibility of looking after such a fragile life? How many of us would just leave? In this gripping audio drama, we follow the story of a man who struggles to keep his humanity while raising a baby in this world wrought with chaos, bringing back the one thing this lawless civilization needs most: hope. Mudwalker Productions presents Raising Hope, an audio drama that will keep you asking, what's next? Raising Hope is a self-produced bi-weekly audio drama. Ask not what you should do to survive. Ask, how do I live? Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
You being so reclusive and everything is probably only going to make people more interested in your music.
Yeah. What a drag.
Hello? What is it? You look tired. Can't you tell your wife what your problem is?
It's the way they treat the world. And now they've succeeded in contaminating their own blood, never mind their water.
Typo negativo.
Been expecting you for some reason, Dr. Faust.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
How do?
This week, we're discussing the horror drama. I don't know what this movie is.
Dude, I don't even think this is a horror movie.
I don't think it is either.
I don't think it is.
I mean, there are vampires in it, although they never refer to themselves as vampires. The word vampire is never spoken. The movie is Only Lovers Left Alive.
Which sounds amazing. What a great title.
What does it mean?
That could be a super awesome, like, emo band name, too.
It could be. It could be. Instead, it's this movie.
Because otherwise you're dead. You're single, you're dead inside. How can you even live your life?
That's true. True. All true.
Everybody's dead.
Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, what's the latest with you?
Well, I don't officially have to be back to work for another week, but there's stuff you got to do. So I've gone into work 2 days in a row. I'll probably go into work for 4 days. And I'm taking Friday off to pretend like I don't have to work.
Like, I discovered to my horror, I thought I didn't have to go back till the 30th of this month. And I just happened to glance the schedule. No, sir. The 23rd. Just slice off an entire week of my vacation time.
My friend's husband just found out yesterday that he has to be back to work on Friday. No other district starts like that whole day earlier.
Believe it or not, people who work normal jobs where they have to work all year round have absolutely zero sympathy for us. And nor should
It's a
they.
different job. You know what
It's a
it
different
is?
job.
Teaching is like doing a one-man show for 7.5 hours a day, but you got to write a different script every day. It is
Correct.
exhausting. It is exhausting. The first week that we don't work, we just lay on the couch staring.
That's all.
Literally.
That's all we do. That's all we do. No, the best teachers.
I know. Go ahead.
The best teachers make it interesting, and then there's the rest of us. So
We're
there
just
you have
trying
it.
to survive, baby.
Just trying to live.
survive.
What were we going to
Just
say?
trying to live for a couple more years. I have met teachers who are anxious to get back because they get bored. So they start working on their stuff throughout the summer. I don't want to be friends with those people. That means they've got nothing else. They're going to die young as soon as they retire because they're not going to have anything to do.
Correct. I do not. I get bored, but I'm not reaching for my textbooks. You know what I'm saying? Let's not get carried away. What are we talking about here? That's madness.
Dude, I am never bored during the summer. There's always something to do, some TV show to watch. I don't care if I'm laying on the couch or, I am not bored. I have hobbies.
My wife has brainwashed me. If I spend too much time sitting on the couch watching TV, then I'm like, I should be doing something. I cannot just sit here and watch shows I'm enjoying one right after another. I must find something else to do with my time.
No.
It's brainwashing.
You know what that is? You know what that is?
What?
This is when I organize. So I'll put on some binge watchable show, and then I'll be multitasking. That's the time to fold the laundry. If you happen to feel guilty, which I don't. I have binge watched shows where my eyes hurt. I feel physically ill. I'm like, I gotta stop this. One more.
Well, I always tell the story. When I was away at college, I think it was my first year of college, I had classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday only. And those other days, I would hit the Blockbuster Video, grab 3 movies. Maybe I knew what they were. I probably had heard of them, but maybe I'd seen them before.
Cover. Just based on the cover. You're like,
just based on the cover.
Entertainment? It's got to be great.
I pick up a pizza on the way home, and then that's my Saturday. Pow. No shame in my game. No shame in my game.
I used to do that with my friends, even when I was a working person. We watch 3 movies.
Absolutely.
Drink beer, get some takeout, and just watch movies till our eyes bleed.
Not that long ago, I would have like movie parties where I'd be like, hey, everybody come on down. And I'd have like 3 movies. And inevitably, half the people would be like, after the first movie's over, is packing up their stuff. I'm like, whoa, what do you think you're doing?
What?
We're just getting started here. What you talking about?
That's why you had to take their keys when they enter.
That's
They're like,
right.
We're locked in a vault. There's no one leaving. No one here gets out alive.
No one gets out alive. Damn it.
I thought of, we're in a book club together. What about a cinema club? Everyone picks a movie.
I would be down for that.
And then we discuss it.
I like to think that's our show, Aaron. That each week we say, watch this movie and send in your comments.
We would have a larger group of people throwing out their opinions.
No, I agree. I would absolutely be down for that.
It's a lot easier than listening to a 48-hour book. God forbid I should read it.
God forbid. Well, you never actually reread the book. You just like listen to it, correct?
I ain't got time for that.
I read. I'll read 12 or 15 pages a day, get up in the morning, knock it out, read it during lunch, whatever, and then I'm good.
I have a bunch of books I started, like I thought I would take them to work and read them during lunch, and I took them home because they've been there for 6 years. And I've got 4 pages of Orlando, 6 pages of some fucking Alexander Dumas book.
I see. 3 Musketeers?
No.
Count of Monte Cristo?
Queen Margot.
Interesting. Why don't we get the train back on the tracks?
I have read 14 pages of this Philip K. Dick book that I thought I would read while I was gone with my friends for a week now.
It took me 10 years to read Les Miserables. I would read a little bit of it, and I go, like, I'm done with this for a while. And then I inevitably, like a dog with a bone, I had to finish it. If I start a book, I have to finish it. No matter
I
how
love
many years
Les
it takes.
Mis, but I had a job as a security guard, so I would just sit in the break room for hours and read it.
Some security guard. There's like burglaries going on, raiders.
It was at a lumber company.
A lot of people stealing that lumber on your watch.
Earth First. We were looking for protesters, and we had to keep the prostitutes off the docks because we had the ships come in to get the lumber, and I had to chase away the Humboldt whores.
The Humboldt whores. Okay, I was going to ask. This doesn't sound like Bakersfield to me.
No, this is when I was up in Humboldt. And by the way, I never saw any prostitutes. I never saw any Earth First protesters. I never saw any prostitutes. So I was able to get a lot of that.
A lot of reading.
Les Miserables done.
I see. Give us your 30-second synopsis of Only Lovers Left Alive.
And I will say this was my pick because it has Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston, who is my secret love. And he's 6'2".
He's a tall drink of water.
He is a tall drink of water. And I love Tilda. So all I knew is it is They Are Vampires. And it has an awesome title, as we discussed, like it would be an awesome emo band name. So it's just like a slice of life. Vampires that have been in a relationship over the centuries, coping with their existence and their trials and tribulations. You really don't know that much about them, except for like some of the people they've known through time, how they acquire their nourishment, and how their fortunes rise and fall. And by fortunes, I really don't mean their money, because they have mysterious money.
Right.
All vampires have mysterious money. Except in this case, they all used to have this source for pure blood, because we're all drinking and drugging. So our blood is contaminated. It can make us sick. They can make the vampire sick. So that's why there's what am I thinking of? It costs a lot of money to get the good stuff. And it looks like heroin. They take a small sip and they just gotta half orgasm, half pass out.
Yes.
It's like Train Spotting. And then they feel good, rock and roll. And it's just really a bit of time in their life. They really don't get too vampy until the very end, when they're down on their luck and they no longer have a source for the good stuff. It started
like credits roll.
Credits roll.
Right.
And you really don't see any. The only reason this is an R rating because they decided to have this weird naked picture of the two of them.
Yes.
In the most unnatural way to sleep in bed with your hands twisted. I don't know what it is.
They always sleep in a weird way. Ain't no lie. They're always coiled around each other.
They're coiled around. He always seems to be the opposite end of the bed. Like his head always seems to be at her feet.
Correct.
And a pillow over it. It's kind of interesting. He is depressed. He was friends with Byron and Shelley. So he's the dark, brooding musician, poet.
Correct.
What is the purpose? And she's the opposite. She finds joy in the day-to-day.
Correct.
And that's what she says to him. She's like, in all these years, you still haven't figured it out. That's it.
I have to say, and this may be controversial for some, I positively despise slice of life kind of things, where it's just like, hey, snapshot of a couple days with these characters. Nothing much happens. They just living their life, doing their thing. You'd never seen this before, correct?
No.
But you'd heard of it. You knew what it was about going in.
I heard it somewhere, and it has like a 96.
Oh, really? A 96 on what?
On the Rottamo.
Maybe you better take a second look.
Well, that thing does change.
It does change. It's a living document.
It's a living.
No, I the title sounds vaguely familiar to me going into this. I knew absolutely nothing about it. Absolutely. I didn't know who was in it other than you told me Tilda Swinton was in this.
That's all you
By
need
the way,
to know.
This movie came out 11 years ago. And do you know what the age difference is between Tilda Swinton and
it's
Hiddleston?
like 20 years.
It's 21 years. 21 years, because she is ageless.
She was like immortal. Yes. She is the immortal beloved.
Correct. He was early 30s when he did this. She was early 50s. Now she's early 60s and looks exactly the same.
Dude, she has never changed. She has never changed. And she is buck naked.
Bone naked.
There's not a dot. There's not a fucking freckle.
No, there isn't.
She must be. I saw in Japan there are these women who are fully covered. You only see their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
For sun protection. No, for sun protection.
Okay.
And their comment was, "I don't care if people look; they can't tell who I am. But I won't tan, and I won't get the cancer." Boom. It's like a whole body thing. So I assume that's her every day. Like the Invisible Man with just the dark glasses.
Absolutely. She must do something. She's in a hyperbaric chamber 23 hours out of the day. Must be something going on there.
It's true. She's
no
immortal.
question.
I got to make her my friend and learn her secrets.
Now, are you familiar with Jim Jarmusch, who's the director, writer, auteur?
Jim, I believe I saw one of his movies, but he always pops up when you're talking about movies. He's always being interviewed, if it's horror movies or movies in general. I recognize his face immediately.
He's an indie darling from way back when. He does, he kind of pops up every couple of years with a new film that's his film.
Right.
And usually it's an all-star cast, like people who are dying to work with him.
People want to work with Coffee and Cigarettes. I saw that.
The only thing I saw him, that film of his that I watched prior to this, and God damn it, The Dead Don't Die, it was a zombie movie that he did, and it starred Bill Murray and Adam Driver, Tilda Swinton, Chloe Sevigny.
Why have we not seen that?
Because I didn't like it. Because I didn't care for it. Because it is kind of that thing where it's like, we're just living our life. We're just doing our thing. Not a lot of high highs, not a lot of low lows. Everybody's just kind of on like 5. You know what I mean? Like that's what they've turned their volume to. And they're like, there are zombies. We're just doing our thing. There's, and that's kind of like this movie, in my opinion, where it's that same kind of.
The stuff they're struggling with is just regular stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What's the purpose of life? We have different interests. We need to be together, but we need to be apart,
Right. They're married and have obviously been together for hundreds of years, but she lives in Tangiers with Christopher Marlowe, who's also a vampire. And he lives in Detroit, like clearly like, Blight, where it's like he lived in this part of town. At one point, it was thriving community. Obviously years have passed, and now it's the one house inhabited in this part of town. That's over in Coyotes.
It's totally, God damn it. It's totally that horror movie we
Barbarian.
saw. It's totally Barbarian. This is the next block, where it's just empty houses because everybody left Detroit.
Right.
Except this place clearly looks like it's in England. Am I right or am I wrong?
Honestly, I'm not that familiar with the geography of Detroit, but it's like he steps out of this.
Interior.
Oh, well, maybe he brings that with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm gonna kick it to you, Aaron. Let's start with you. Your highlights of Only Lovers Left Alive. What do you got?
First of all, I love that name. And as I was watching this, I'm like, oh shit, Kevin's gonna freaking hate this. I'm like, he's going to come at me with guns blazing, accusing me of making him watch a Wim Wenders film again.
What was
Is it
it?
Wings of Desire?
Is it A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night? That's what I thought
Oh.
we were doing.
That was always on the top list, and we were like, "What the?"
And
F?
people, it's not a poorly made film, but it's that kind of, low energy. We're just kind of doing our thing, which that's kind
I
of.
don't
this
even know if
movie,
I
too.
finished that movie. I finished this movie. I mean, as far as The Girl Walks Home Alone, the idea of the vampire and the burqa,
Yeah.
that was iconic looking.
It was a cool look.
It was a very cool look, and we need to bring that back, but with an interesting story.
Okay, fair enough. Well-
This, I like I like the gothic. I like the wanting and how they're coming together. They're clearly so perfectly matched. They're not fighting. They have interesting friends. They just need to come up with like True Blood. That's all I kept thinking. I'm like, now's the time for the True Blood. But nobody wants to live in Bonton, Louisiana.
Well, they clearly love each other. Like the moment she appears, flying in from Tangiers, they can't keep their goddamn hands off each
No.
other. They're all over each other.
It's
It was-
magic time. I mean, they have interesting friends. Her friend in Tangiers clearly is William Shakespeare.
He's Christopher Marlowe.
He's Christopher Marlowe. Yeah.
Right. Well, there's a point at the end where he's just like, Shakespeare really didn't write anything. It was me all along, but I had supposedly died. So I had to basically hand off all of my fine works to Shakespeare, and he took all the credit, was kind of what they said.
And when Tom is there, it's Adam and Eve. So when Adam shows up, he's like, "Oh, I wish I knew you then. You would have been a great Hamlet."
Right. Well, clearly they're old as hell,
Right.
but they make a point of not telling you how old they're
no.
supposed to be. Now, reading up on this, Jarmusch says that they're not supposed to be biblical Adam and Eve. That was
They're not
literally
the first two vampires.
no. They're like, it was literally just a mistake. Like he chose Adam and Eve from a story by Mark Twain. That's what he was thinking about, and didn't realize that other people would draw a different connection until after he'd already written the
Really?
script.
I didn't
That's what he says.
realize that the names Adam and Eve had been used in other places. Oh my
I'm
God.
just saying what he
Adam
said.
and Steve.
Adam and Steve, 100%. Well, what do you think the significance of the sister, Ava, suddenly showing up and throwing a monkey wrench into the shit?
That's just part of life. Everybody's
Right.
got the wacky sibling. How many of these freaking non-vampire shows do you get your screwed up, messed up brother or sister shows up,
Right.
steals from you, wrecks your place until you got to kick them the F out?
They throw their stuff out in the street. Get out of here.
Except when you're a vampire, it's a lot easier to do. They're not going to be homeless. They're going to be able to get by.
Well, what?
I love that they
What-
all had dreams. They're like, oh shit, the dream is coming.
Well, they said that she sent out the dreams to them to let
So they
them know
could-
she was coming.
And
Right.
she's looking for them.
Correct. Now, that's the thing. It's what vampiric powers do they clearly have other than they can live forever? I don't know. Did you notice any other powers in this movie?
Well, it's not like what we do in The Shadow. No one was like popping into a bat and flying
No,
away.
they
They
did
weren't
not.
hypnotizing anyone.
Not that we saw, right?
Not that we saw. No one was really hunting them, so I'm guessing there's just not that many of them. I have a feeling like because they call humans zombies,
Right.
the zombie blood, which I thought was funny, the zombie blood is really tainted. So they
Right.
have to be very careful. So that's why, because I was like, part of the vampire's got to be the rush of hunting people down. There's so many fucking books you're going to read, right?
Right. They seemed like not to do that at all until the very,
No.
very end out of desperation.
Out of desperation. And I think that is because the pool is tainted.
Well, I think they also said that if you're trying to keep it quiet, there are vampires around, then in this day and age, you have to be very, very careful.
Right.
Right? She said it's not
You'd
like
have to keep moving.
well, they were fine staying where they were when they had like kind of sources, right? He could go.
Right.
He marched right into the hospital, slipped Jeffrey Wright some cash, and he'd give him some O negative, the good stuff. And then he didn't have to kill anybody. There was never a point where he had to murder anybody because of it, because he could just get the
Right.
free, not free, but get the blood, from the tap, I guess. And she in Tangiers was able to get blood because Christopher Marlowe, John Hurt, also had like a hookup in a similar fashion. So there was
Speaking of John Hurt, also sold his soul to the devil. Does he? At least in costume, he looked about the John Hurt from Alien. So I don't know what's happening there too. He's one of those guys who was always old, but he's always old. He was old in The Elephant Man. He was old in Alien. He doesn't look as old as he is, since he's always old.
Well, he's dead now, isn't he? Did John Hurt die?
He? What?
Well, it's been 11 years since this movie. I have a feeling
I thought he was immortal.
Google it. But this movie, it really isn't about here are evil vampires preying on innocent people.
You're right. He died 4 years
a couple
after
years
this
ago.
movie.
Right.
He's only 3 years older than Dad.
Oh, yeah. So it's much more just they're living their life. Tom Hiddleston is suffering from existential ennui.
Absolutely.
Because he basically, well, right. Because what does he do? He stays in bed all day, every day. He has the Anton Yelchin who plays like his buddy in the music industry who brings him guitars. And
dude, I don't even know if he's in the music industry. He just seems like a dude who knows how to get stuff.
Oh, maybe so. But that's just his life. It's like here's a new guitar from 1905. And, oh, cool. And that's his life. I wonder.
Well, he clearly suffering from depression. Had his assistant go get a special bullet because he was going to kill himself.
Yes.
But now his girlfriend is back. His wife is back.
Yep.
And now they're doing stuff. Although he does not take her dancing, he takes her for drives.
Correct, because he's kind of chill. He's like I don't need to go to clubs.
Yeah.
Well, because why do you go? Because people see you at the club. You know what I mean? If you just go for a drive, no one sees you, and that causes a problem when the sister murders his contact or whatever after they're hanging out at the club all night. Then it's like, what do we do?
Can't be trusted. Yeah, she really jacked everything up, so they had to abandon and run.
Right. And now they're in Tangiers where Christopher Marlowe drops dead. So now they don't even have a hookup in Tangiers.
Right. He dies from drinking the tainted blood.
Well, but he seemed kind of jacked anyway.
Blood. Oh, tainted blood.
When she's at the cafe in Tangiers, the dude Bilal comes up and says, "Oh, my master's not doing great." And then you see him, John Hurt, and his like arms are in like leg braces or something. Like he's already jacked up. So I don't know, why is he so jacked up?
He brings 2 of those bottles of the good blood, and she only takes 1, and he stops and looks at it.
Right.
So maybe he was not imbibing. Maybe he's like her husband and he's ready to go. So he was meaning for her to take all that.
Well, and what do they establish? It's like they seemingly only take like a little shot glass of the blood when they take it. It has kind of a, like you said, like they're on heroin or something. Is their reaction to it. But it's a sipping tea. You're only supposed to kind of like do a little sip.
Sister was chug-a-lugging. So I guess you can sip it and that'll cover you.
Right.
But if you have an unlimited supply, you'd be chug-a-lugging.
Well, right. She pounds it and Hiddleston's like, Jesus, take it easy. Slow it down.
Over the night, she got into it and drank a whole bottle of it.
Right.
And then she found the stash and busted into it and filled up a whole flask full of it. So she's like sipping it. So of course Anton's like, can I have a hit off that?
Right.
So he has to like, she was going to give it to him.
Right. And you see, like, that's really their only, like, they can move really quickly. So he kind of takes it, does, and he's like, well, that's some kung fu, some stuff up in here.
Is that some of that karate?
He said something along those lines. But it seems like they only need a little bit at a time to survive. But if they don't have it, like literally they fly to Tangiers and are basically like collapsing, like weakness.
Yeah.
Like the next day, it's like they don't have any blood, and she's like dragging Hiddleston around. And that's what kind of forces them to be like, we have to drink the blood of those young lovers to live. So,
but we're not going to kill them. We're going to turn them.
We're going to turn them. Which, is that a good idea? I don't know if that's a good idea.
I say kill them. I say kill them. And you need the little flask. There needs to be, I'm sure there's a vampire scientist. He's like an engineer. He's rigged up all this crazy shit.
Yes.
There needs to be like a little test where you could see if it's tainted blood or if it's good to go.
Well, I think they don't want to have to drink from people for a variety of reasons. I think it's tainted blood. I think it's also a case of, if you're killing a bunch of people, then the word's going to be out that there are killers on the loose, kind of thing.
True, but you don't think, either way, if they're turned, then they're missing people. They're not just hanging out at home. And who's going to say that they're going to follow your code? Who's to say they're not pissed that you just basically killed them and made them vampires against their will?
That's not cool. That's not a cool thing to do.
No.
Now, what did they do with their buddy's body? There was just like an acid pool underneath a building or something?
I think it's just Detroit is just so shot up that some of the old factories are just open pits of acid. Perfect for the disposal of bodies. And it's nice he knew exactly where it was.
Oh, yeah. Rolled the body in there. He's in there. It's just like a skeleton. It was like a House on Haunted Hill or something.
Dude, totally. That's good to know.
Good, exactly.
Now they got to get the F out there because they're the last people seen with this.
Right. Absolutely. So it's like, honestly, why even dispose of the body if you're fleeing the country anyway? Why does it even matter at that point?
Well, they may want to talk to you. They're really going to want to talk to you if there's like an old rotten body. At least, if the body's gone, there's no 100% proof.
And people disappear all the time.
People disappear. It's Detroit. People disappear all the time.
They
drank some of that Flint water, and that was it.
Exactly. Roger and me, right?
It was Roger and me. Well, the jig was up anyway because all these rock and roll kids are kind of tracking down Adam. Because his music is leaking. So who's leaking it? I thought Anton was leaking it. Because otherwise, how would the kids know where to go?
That was a thing where I'm like, what is the significance of this? Because you're right. Hiddleston is like a composer, but he doesn't share his work. But somehow the sister's like, oh, I heard your songs in L.A.
It's in clubs. In Detroit. So maybe he is the one leaking it. You know, it's what he says versus what he does. He kind of floats it out there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, because you're right. Because it's like the young music fans keep showing up like on the curb. They never knock. They never hey.
They did. The last time when there was the dead body upstairs, they knocked.
Oh, shit.
That's why he knew to look out the window, because they thought it was the cops.
This movie, man. What else you got?
It's like if Dave Grohl was next door. You might want to go over, hey.
I'm leaving Dave Grohl alone. Leave people alone.
Dude, no, I'm out of eggs. I just need to borrow one. I'll bring it back tomorrow. See, now I have seen him twice. Got some eggs? Oh, you don't have any eggs? You got some sugar?
So now you're the
Bread?
guys from Funny Games, like showing up and like, give me where
You
the
got
eggs?
the tampons, toilet paper. You got something in there. Let
This
me
isn't the
borrow
7-Eleven.
it.
Now, my question to you was: Tom Hiddleston's hair, was it Chris Robinson from the Black Crows? Is that what he was going for? His crazy
Yeah,
hair.
it was very Veronica Lake. It was a little annoying, but finally by the end you could start seeing his other
How
eye.
is it Veronica Lake?
Because Veronica Lake was very famous for having her only one eye.
For only having one eye. That's what she was famous for?
This is her. That was her look. Ask Aunt Vicky. Veronica Lake always had this straight bang that covered one of her eyes.
Veronica Lake was a beautiful blonde. This is not
Yes,
this is
but
not what he
it's
was
the
going for.
whole, like one eye covering it up there.
Interesting.
I mean, it's a good look, but it makes it hard to see.
It
By
does
the
make it
end,
hard to
the
see.
eye was popping out. But it was a good look for Hiddleston. I was like, all right.
He's a handsome devil.
He's a
And this is early Hiddleston too. This is only a few
Work
years.
it like this because he clearly knows how to. It doesn't all have to be low key. It can be real stuff too, kids.
He's low key, Loki.
He's
Now-
low-key. This is low key. This is what Loki does when he's not, causing chaos. It's the other side.
Now, why isn't he James Bond?
Dude, he could be. I guess people don't see him as masculine. Who's the latest? I mean, Daniel Craig is very masculine.
Yeah. So what is it
All right.
more important?
James Bond needs to be toxically masculine because that's hot.
I guess it comes down to, because 100%. I guess it comes down to, do you prefer a Sean Connery where he's more, alpha male?
Yes.
Or would you prefer a Roger Moore
No.
who's not nearly as alpha, but is kind of charming and suave kind of thing? Which do you prefer? What emphasis do you place on your James Bond?
I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, Sean Connery today, tomorrow, always. But, I mean...
Just a question.
Is he dead now? No. Roger Moore was never my choice. Then there was the dude who was the 9th Doctor Who. I thought he was really good. He was like a tormented James Bond. And then there was Daniel Craig, also very masculine. And
Wait a minute. The 9th Doctor Who was also James Bond? I don't know if I remember that.
he only was it for one time.
They were trying. I remember this. That poor bastard.
Yes.
They were trying to revive Doctor Who in the 90s.
Yes.
And his name was like Paul McGann, I believe was his name. And they did a made-for-TV movie that was supposed to be like the pilot episode of a new series.
It was a dark, brooding Doctor Who, and people were like, "We don't want that. We want a funny old man with a scarf."
We want a funny old man with a scarf. So he was literally Doctor Who for one episode. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Paul McGann, in the interim, was like still like the voice of Doctor Who on like audio dramas or audio books, something along those lines. So he appeared other places, but he was only ever seen as Doctor Who in one episode. And then it was probably another 10 years
not Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston.
Christopher Eccleston was not the we're talking about two different ones. There's one, Christopher Eccleston did it for an entire season.
Yeah, he's the 9th Doctor Who.
Okay, then I'm mixing it up. But he did it for an entire season. He wore leather jackets. He was there with Billy Piper, if I'm remembering.
Dude.
He was good.
Yes.
After the one season, he said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So after one season, they had him regenerate, and then they brought in David Tennant, who is my favorite.
He's not very masculine, but Doctor Who doesn't need to be masculine.
Doesn't have to be. Christopher Eccleston was great. He was great.
Yes.
And the good thing about Doctor Who, which I think is different, well, I guess that's not true either, What's true about Doctor Who, which is also true of James Bond, is that whoever the actor is kind of puts
Yes.
their own flavor in it.
Right.
And oftentimes they're like wildly different. Like Eccleston to Tennant is just two opposite poles.
Absolutely. He was also in Shallow Grave, one of my favorites.
Christopher Eccleston was in a ton of stuff.
Christopher
Ton of
Eccleston, 24-Hour Party People, The Others, 28 Days Later. I
Yep.
mean, come on.
He was in Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas
He was in
Cage.
Thor. What, he wasn't?
He was in Thor: The Dark World. Let's not get carried away.
Dude, you know what? He was not a James Bond.
He was never James Bond. I don't know what the hell you were talking about. I didn't know what connection you're trying to make.
I thought he was a James Bond.
Why would you think that?
Boy, that went off.
That went
Never
off the
mind.
rails.
That
Now,
went
here
way
are
off
the James
rail.
Bonds. Okay.
All right. lay it
Sean
on me.
Connery, obviously.
Yes,
He did
the
it,
best.
if I'm remembering correct off the top of my head, he did 5.
Okay.
Did 5. Then they brought in George Lazenby, Australian guy who they thought kind of looked like Sean Connery. He did 1. They wanted him to do more, but
Yeah, he
in the
wasn't
late
bad.
60s, he said, "Oh, this spy stuff is kind of going out of fashion." He was kind of a hippie, a flower child. So he quit. They wanted to give him more.
His girlfriend died at the end, and he cried. So
Diana
they were
Rigg.
like,
Diana Rigg, his wife, was
Ooh.
murdered by Blofeld at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service in a
What a-
very special moment. It was a real moment.
It was the only time a James Bond was sad.
It was. And that movie is actually starting. People kind of poo-poo it because it's George Lazenby. It actually is not bad.
He was fine.
It's starting to go up in people's esteem.
Right.
Then the producers were like, "Oh shit, what do we do? This guy doesn't want to come back." Sean Connery, they brought him back for one more, and he gave his money to charity. He did Diamonds Are Forever, which is
Classic.
I don't know if it's a classic, but it is the first one where it's almost like this is a Roger Moore movie, which means it's kind of wacky, goofy things happen, strange settings, over the top villains. So he was done. Then
Like,
they brought
they're
in
trying to do it like a live action Batman. Where's the Penguin? Blofeld,
Basically.
I guess.
that's basically what they were going for. So then they hired Roger Moore, who was a
'Cause
famous.
he was on The Saint.
He was on The Saint. He was on Maverick. Do you remember that show with James Garner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
It was a cowboy show. Roger Moore was on that. He was also on a show in the early 70s, late 60s called The Persuaders with Tony Curtis. So he was kind of a TV actor that people were familiar with. And he was a year older than Sean Connery.
I mean, he was not unattractive. He was.
It's just different. Totally different movies. Honestly, Roger
I
Moore was the
enjoyed
guy I
him in
grew
The
up with.
Saint, which is a James Bond kind of a thing.
Yes, it is. Very much so. So he did 7 movies until he was almost 60 when he finally said, "When my co-star's mother is younger than I am, it's time to hang up the James Bond." So he
Then
bounced.
there was a year when a Roger Moore and a Sean Connery came out the same time. The battle of the James Bonds.
In 1983, Roger Moore was doing Octopussy. How that ever was named Octopus, how they got away with this, I will never know.
Yes.
The people who own the rights to the story Thunderball, which is a different company, said, "We're doing our own James Bond." And they basically remade Thunderball, and they brought back Sean Connery to be in it in Never Say Never Again.
Mhm.
That was that. So when that was all done, then they brought in Timothy Dalton. They wanted Pierce Brosnan. He was busy with Remington Steele. Timothy Dalton
Timothy
did 2.
Dalton, I mean, he was in A Lion in Winter. He's like a real actor.
A real actor.
But they gave him shit movies.
Not.
Those were the worst.
The first one was all right. Second one was not good at all.
No.
Then there was a huge gap of about 6 years
People are like,
where there
"It's
was
over."
legal courtroom drama, shenanigans about who owns the rights, and does UA own the rights? Does Sony own the rights? What's the story? So by the time they were ready to do it in about 95, Timothy Dalton's like, "I'm good.
He's
I don't
like,
need to do it
screw
anymore."
you. You're giving me shitty scripts. It's destroying my name. I'm an actor.
Pierce Brosnan had just come off of Lawnmower Man, so he was very available. to step back into the role.
He is the worst James Bond of all.
He was in 4 of them. The first one, GoldenEye, was pretty good. The other 3 are forgettable to lousy.
He is. There's nothing. I feel like I could kick his ass.
Right. He's a little slight, but he's very charming. He's a handsome guy.
I'm sure he's not like a fascist or anything, but
no. He's Irish. So there you go.
Well, that's a plus.
That's always a plus. A few years later, hired Daniel Craig.
Love Daniel Craig.
He did 5 of these movies, but they were like huge gaps. So it was like over the course of like 15 years.
Yeah, because each one cost $200 billion to make.
Correct. And some are really good, some are really lousy.
He used to be married to Exene from the band X.
Daniel Craig?
Yep.
He's currently married to Rachel Weisz, who's my secret crush from way back in the day. So now we've done this 20-minute bird walk on Doctor Who and James Bond. Any last thoughts on Only Lovers Left Alive?
Idris Elba's supposed to replace him, right?
Nope. Too old. Too old. They're going to go a little bit younger, but we don't know who. It might be Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Whoa. Yes. Too old? Sean Connery. He's older than Sean Connery in Thunderball?
Yes. He is. Idris Elba's in his 50s.
I don't give a shit. He doesn't look 50. And you got Liam Neeson at 95 years old, still jumping out airplane looking for kidnapped relatives. That's bullshit.
I love Idris Elba. I wouldn't complain.
It's racist.
They want a youngish guy, somebody in their early to mid 30s who looks like they've got a little mileage, but can do this for 15 years. That's what they want. They don't want to hire a guy who's 55. Okay,
I don't
fair
care.
enough.
They've been buzzing Idris Elba for 5 years, and now it's like, nah.
Well, the crazy thing is, it's been about 5 years, coming up on 5 years since they did the last James Bond.
That he was taking over the role. They buzzed it long enough.
The last James Bond was about 5 years ago.
Yes, and
there's no announcement.
Yeah, at that time they were saying it was going to be him. I'm very irritated about that.
It's a sad situation. Any last thoughts on Only Lovers Left Alive?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting. Vampires apparently, suffer ennui, and they struggle with the point of life. And if you have a good mate, you can support each other. That's really the lesson.
Can we go behind the scenes, Aaron?
Lay it on me.
All of the cast members playing vampires wore wigs that were a mixture of human, yak, and goat hair in order to make them look wilder.
Dude, her hair, I was like, what's happening with her hair?
That is a question.
It was really filthy and stiff, but it looked really, she can wear whatever and she looks great.
There was some action in this movie at first, but when writer-director Jim Jarmusch was asked to add more, he removed all of it instead.
That's what you get. Don't even talk to me while I'm filmmaking. Now we're just the whole film just takes place laying on a couch.
Absolutely. Basically. According to the script, Eve is 2,000 years old and was the druid matriarch of a Celtic tribe. Adam is 500 to 600 years old.
See, and
the director decided that Adam and Eve would be aware of each other's true age. So he argued there'd be no reason to state it in the movie, right? They would never talk about it since they already know it. So that's why they don't announce it.
Kevin, I am aware of you that you are blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
I talk about your age quite a bit, though, in every episode.
You bastard.
The white dwarf that Eve mentions to Adam while driving across the city is the star called BPM 37093, also known as Lucy, named after the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Its nucleus is cooling down, which makes the core pulsate like a giant gong. It's real.
Honestly, the one good thing, since she reads 700 books in 5 minutes with the reading dynamics course where you just run your finger over it and you pick it all up, and she's going to have a lot to say and a lot of interesting conversations.
You'd think.
Yeah, she's rattling up all kinds of non sequiturs.
It's
and
true.
It emits music that sounds like a gong.
Contrary.
And he goes, I wonder what it sounds like. And all I was thinking was, well, she just said it sounds like a gong.
Get it on. Bang the gong.
Bang a gong.
Get it on. Contrary to most viewers' assumptions, Jim Jarmusch did not name the two main characters directly after Adam and Eve from the Bible. Rather,
Right,
he was
'cause he
referring
forgot
to
about
Mark
that.
Twain's satirical work, The Diaries of Adam and Eve, which has rarely been published in its complete form. So there you go. That's what he was talking about.
I'm sure.
Does that all make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jim.
Tilda Swinton somewhat reprised her role in the mockumentary series What We Do in the Shadows. So go back and watch
When
that.
was she on What We Do in the Shadows?
There's
How did I
at
miss
least
that?
there's at least one episode where like there's like a council meeting of vampires, and there's like
that's
a few famous vampires from
That's right.
movies
That's
that pop
right.
up.
All right.
Let's see. At one point, during Adam's visit to Dr. Watson twice throughout this movie, his name tag shows Dr. Faust,
Yes.
which pays homage to the classic German legend Faust, made into a play by Christopher Marlowe. He then refers to him as Dr. Caligari, like the 1920s German silent movie, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah.
So there you go. All sorts of good stuff. Subjects discussed by the characters include Jack White. They drive by his house.
Oh, yeah.
Nikola
You like
Tesla.
Jack White. Ooh.
Right. So it's meant to be kind of like, Adam has been a contemporary of all these famous people throughout history, all these kind of important characters, including Jack White for some reason. Who could say?
I don't know if he knows Jack White.
He knows him.
They're chilling, they're jamming. But I think his whole thing is that the zombies are so stupid, they don't learn, they silence all these great voices. This is a part of his depression.
Right. They're ruining the world.
What's the point?
Right. Let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we?
Yes.
Jim Jarmusch, writer-director. You know him from such things as Only Lovers Left Alive
Yes.
in 2013, Paterson in 2016, Broken Flowers 2005, and Stranger Than Paradise in 1984. Does that ring any
And
bells for you?
Coffee and Cigarettes.
The Dead Don't Die, Fresh Water, Give Me Danger. List goes on and on.
I've heard some.
Let's talk about the cast. Of course, we've got Tilda Swinton playing Eve. You know her from such things as We Need to Talk About Kevin in 2011.
we
And
need to talk about Kevin.
We do. She was in Snowpiercer, which is a movie we should probably do at some point from 2013.
You know, I love the Tilda Swinton.
She was in Michael Clayton in 2007. That's that George Clooney film.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in 2018's Suspiria. Suspiria. I'm having an episode.
Which, of course, we didn't like as much as the original one. And she was also in Constantine, an Aaron favorite.
An Aaron favorite, no question. Tom Hiddleston played Adam. You know him from such things as The Avengers in 2012, Thor in 2011, Thor The Dark World 2013.
Is there anything
Thor Ragnarok
Loki?
in 2017. The list goes on. Most of what he's done is some kind of Loki shit. Although I did like him in Kong Skull Island in 2017. If you haven't seen
So he did this, and then he did oh no, didn't he do that terrible fucking Guillermo del Toro Crimson Peak,
which
Oh my
also
God.
stars Mia Wasikowska playing Ava. You know her from such things as Alice in Wonderland in 2010,
Yeah.
Stoker in 2013, The Kids Are All Right in 2010, and Crimson Peak in 2015. Boom.
Crimson Peak could have been good, but then
And
it
yet-
crapped out.
It was not. John Hurt played Christopher Marlowe. You know him from 1984. In 1984. He was in Alien in 1979.
Yep.
The Elephant Man in 1980.
A David Lynch straight film.
And Midnight Express in 1978. It's been a ton of stuff.
I never saw that. I think I would find it very depressing.
Let's see. Anton Yelchin played Ian. You know him from Star Trek 2009, playing Chekhov. He was in The Green Room in 2015. He was in Like Crazy in 2011 and Hearts in Atlantis in 2001. Famously, he was also in the remake of Fright Night. And he actually died in 2016 in a tragic car accident.
Horrible.
So ironically, the two characters who die in this movie are also the characters who die in real life.
So we're going to spread that there's a curse attached to this?
Not spreading anything. I just give the facts. People are saying.
The facts is
Jeffrey Wright. He's in this. He was, you know him from 2021's The French Dispatch.
I love
2023 American Fiction, which I really enjoyed.
I didn't see
He was Lieutenant James Gordon in 2022's The Batman, and Broken Flowers in 2005. That was another Jim Jarmusch production.
And
Yes.
Westworld on HBO. In fact, I have an action figure, but that
A
would have
Westworld
caused
action figure?
of him getting shot. So
I really enjoyed the first couple of seasons of Westworld. It was dynamite.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's look at the ratings, shall we? Only Lovers Left Alive on Rotten Tomatoes. Currently, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Certified fresh. You know what the audience gave it?
Like a 65%.
75%. Boom.
You are that audience.
Let's take a look at the top critics. Wesley Morris from Grantland says, the movie is steeped in a world weariness that flatters a certain kind of know-it-all. Swinton and Hiddleston looking like twins take disaffection to the moon. Not since Weekend at Bernie's have two actors done more to promote the cause of corpses.
What the hell? That's jib jab. I love these just jib jab. Give me something. What does any of that mean?
What does it mean?
Peter is he just saying he's bored? Is that what he's
saying?
He's
not a fan, is what he's trying to say.
I hate these reviews that don't tell me anything.
Peter Travers from Rolling Stone says, Jim Jarmusch, as ever, has the power to sneak up on you. He's a spellbinder. The same goes for his movie. 3 out of 4. Boom.
If it's a spellbinder, why is it a 3 out of 4?
That's a question. Well, Rex Reed from The Observer.
Lay it on me, Rex.
It's so elegant and dreamlike, such a departure from most vampire epics that you won't be bored. It also has a wicked sense of humor you usually don't find in the genre. 3 out of 4.
Okay.
I disagree. I was bored. I fell asleep multiple times trying to watch it the first time.
That's what I was like. Man. You are an old man. Stop watching these freaking mood pieces at midnight next to your sleeping wife.
That's a good idea. Aaron, what is your rating for Only Lovers Left Alive?
I am going to give it 3.97 kisses from my lover, Tom.
3.97. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars.
Oh my God.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just not made for me. That's the only way I can describe it. It's not made for me. It is way too much. I like character arcs. I like, climaxes. I like things to occur. You know what I mean? Day in the life things.
I like things to occur.
Put that on the poster. It's beautifully directed, beautifully acted, just nothing happens. So I fell asleep 3 times. So
Yeah, it is not a horror movie. It's
not a horror movie at all.
Of a slice of life.
Yes, very much so. So that's all there is to it. Any last thoughts, Aaron?
No, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was not a horror movie.
Not at all.
So therefore, it has nothing to do about being scary. They don't even act. If it wasn't for occasionally sipping the good juice, they did nothing vampiric until the sister shows up and goes wacky, and you don't even see that.
No, it's off camera
in the morning, and all his instruments and the whole place is thrashed, and there's a corpse on it, and they don't even look vampy until they go to attack the couple at the very end.
Well, you see their teeth occasionally.
Yeah,
but
when they're drinking.
It is what it is. So, thank you very much. Go to our pages across the internet. X, we're on Blue Sky, we're on Threads, Instagram,
when are we getting off
TikTok.
X?
That's a question. That's a question. You can also watch us on YouTube, so check that good stuff out. You can also email us, the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
We are also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finest podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you? Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I'm on the gram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. And I do have art on First Dibs and Artsy, Aaron Doherty. Check it out. Buy some of my Polaroid art. There's pictures of Kevin that you can purchase.
They're beautiful.
Hang in your bathroom, hang in your living room, wherever.
Above your bed, whatever you want.
Above your bed, whatever. There'll be a Kevin calendar coming out soon enough.
There may. As you know, we like to share the thoughts and feelings of our friends across the interwebs. So let's take a look. Talking about our episode, The Lawnmower Man, starring Pierce Brosnan and Jeff Fahey. Mr. William 263 says, God made him simple. Is that the real tagline? To which I say, sadly, yes. Our friend.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. Talking about Slumber Party Massacre. Our friend Rob Lamorgese, I'm messing up your name, bro. I apologize. La Morgese says, the breaking of the drill bit in 2 is so great, but I think the pizza delivery is my favorite moment. So there you go. I agree.
I like that someone has a favorite moment.
Those are the moments. Exactly.
Celebrate the moments of your life.
What is that for?
I think it's from those international coffees, those instant coffees.
It's for some Taster's Choice. Celebrate the moments of your life with freeze-dried Taster's Choice. Fair enough.
Absolutely. 50% sugar.
Next week, we'll be discussing the horror teen romp. Aaron doesn't even know what we're doing. We're doing the Monster Squad. Where can you watch it? It's on Hoopla for free. Pluto TV with ads. If you have a subscription to Showtime, you can watch it there. Otherwise, full freight anywhere on the social webs. So check that out. The Monster Squad. Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So, thank you very much, and be well.
Check out Evil on Paramount Plus. It's like the X-Files, but instead of the FBI, it's the Catholic Church. It's quite insane.